Lester fled Jamaica with 20 of his Shower Posse men. Welcome to Miami, Florida. When they arrived, they could not believe their eyes. The tall buildings, fancy cars, and beautiful women. There's no way this is real life. At first, Lester Coke and his men enjoyed the experience to the fullest extent. They had money saved up and they could finally live a relaxing life. Lester even bought a house in Miami Gardens, which at the time was a brand new suburb. So during the night, they'd drive to South Beach to party and then they'd come back to sleep during the day. But quickly they realized that Jamaican money only goes so far in Miami. So with his Colombian connections, Lester got back into the game. The Shower Posse began building their clientele throughout the streets of Miami. They weren't there to cause any problems, but at a certain point it was kind of inevitable. Despite their power in Jamaica, they were nobodies in Miami, and that meant that people were gonna try them. January 22nd, 1985. The Shower Posse are set to complete a transaction with their crew in Little Haiti. So Lester and his right-hand man Charles Little Nut Miller arrive at the location. It happens to be an abandoned house, which should have been a red flag. Regardless, they enter the house to meet the Zoes. But the Zoes aren't there to purchase anything. Instead, they surround the Shower Posse and run off with their stuff. They had no idea who they had just messed with. This was bad news, and Lester wanted to prove a point. The next day, January 23rd, 1985, Lester and Charles go to Little Haiti by themselves, looking for the men. They drive to the house from the day before, and they boldly walk inside. Right there are the 5 men from the day before. Bam! The 5 men did not make it, and word began buzzing around Miami. The Shower Posse were here to take over. They decided to set up in Miami Gardens as it was a close suburb to the city. And from Lester's house, all of the money and deals were made. Things went smoothly for a couple of weeks, but then the worst possible news would come for Lester. While walking through the neighborhood, Charles Miller notices something very strange. Another group of Jamaicans had moved in just down the street. So Charles rushes home and informs Lester of what he had seen. Of course, Lester was curious, so he walks over to the house with Charles. As he walks up, his jaw drops to the floor. Standing in front of the house is a man named Kenneth Black, also known as Skeng. Skeng was possibly the most notorious PNP leader in Kingston, the head of what's known as the Spangler Posse. Back in Kingston, the Spangler Posse and Shower Posse had years of battles, so this was bad news. Lester escaped Jamaica just for his rivals to move in 2 blocks away. Well, of course, he wanted to prove that Miami belonged to him. March 30th, 1985. Lester gets word of a reggae party in nearby Fort Lauderdale, and he hears that Skeng might be there. Although they're neighbors, Lester knows that catching Skeng in their own neighborhood would be a terrible idea. So to him, this is the perfect opportunity. At 1 a.m., the Shower Posse arrive at the reggae party. They walk into the party with their blowers tucked in their pants. Then they hide in the bathroom and send a member to go looking for Skeng. The member can't find him anywhere and walks back to the bathroom. Lester gets frustrated and allegedly walks out to the floor to look for himself. As he walks out, he notices Skeng at the DJ booth with Spangler members. So then the Shower Posse make a wild decision. Bam! Thankfully, no Spangler members were injured, but sadly the DJ didn't make it. The incident was the very first Jamaican beef in Florida, and it kicked off a wild decade. The Shower Posse versus Spangler Posse was pretty much JLP versus PNP on American territory. And that takes us to September 1st, 1985. It's a beautiful Sunday morning in Coral Springs, Florida, a suburb an hour north of Miami. And here a major soccer match is taking place at a local park. The match is a collection of former professional players who are playing for a club championship. In the match happens to be a player named Colin Fowles, a former MLS star. Colin was born and raised in Kingston and actually grew up with some of the Spangler members. So naturally, the Spangler Posse shows up to the match to support their friend. The match is a great time and everyone is off their usual guard. On top of this, they're over an hour away from Miami, so they can't expect anything to happen. Well, little do they know the Shower Posse had followed them all the way from Miami Gardens. During the game, the Shower Posse made a devastating decision. Colin was a beloved member of the US and Jamaican soccer communities, and everyone was shocked. The police couldn't figure anything out, as many of the Shower Posse members were not citizens and could not be identified. But then Miami police got a random call. In December of 1985, a random man with a Jamaican accent called in. He told police that he's very close with Lester Coke and that he's fed up with all of the bad things he's doing to the community. The man's identity was kept secret, but everyone knew that it was from inside the Shower Posse circle. The man gave police Lester's address and told them what they'll find inside of his house. This alone was enough for a search warrant, and Miami police were certain that they could take down Lester Coke. On December 11, 1985, Lester Coke's home in Miami Gardens was raided. Police found everything that the caller said they would, but unfortunately for them, everyone in the house except for Lester claimed that it was all theirs, and for that reason there were no longer grounds to arrest Lester Coke.